that I just want to give you a reminder today to heal our bodies from the inside out and to go and look at the root cause of the problem. And so that's what we're going to delve into today. So first, what I want to do is just manage some expectations when it comes to hair, because I feel like sometimes we get in this world of comparison. It's so easy to compare to other situations and other people, and we need to embrace our own beauty and genetics. For example, if you genetically have thick hair, it's not just magically going to be thin. Or if, I have genetically, naturally just thin, fine hair. It has been that way my whole life. I'm not going to, get ahead of curly hair. So we have to embrace our own genetics. And if you're watching this live, I'm going to ask you in the comments to write a couple of descriptors about your hair genetics and your natural beauty. So, for example, maybe a better word to maybe thin, for example, my hair is thin, but maybe a nicer word for me to say is my hair is fine. Um, my natural hair color is also a medium brown. It is my hair is highlighted, so it's not the blonde that most of you know me as. Those of you who have known me, since childhood would know that I have brown hair. So yeah, in the comments, let me know. Do you have strong, thick hair? Is your hair naturally black, brown, blonde? Are you naturally curly? Do you have tight curls? Do you have wavy curls? Do you have straight hair? And let these be positive descriptors, please. So what are the descriptors of your hair? Also, something that is genetic is also the length to which your hair grows. So it's interesting. Like my whole life, I've never had my hair like just below my shoulder. I have a certain, and I'm going to talk about that today, how our hair growth cycle is affected by our genetics. So that is a very real thing too. So some people just naturally their hair is going to be shorter in length. They may not be able to get that hair, but below their bum or anything. So fantastic. The other expectation is to focus on being healthy from the inside out. It's so tempting and I have literally been there because I've struggled or my perception of my hair. I've struggled with that most of my life because of it being so fine. But because it's fine, it has a tendency to get on the unhealthier side. And my brain is like, oh my word, am I going to have to wear a wig? Like, really, should I break down and get extensions? Like we start thinking about all that, and we want to change our hair. We want to put, colors and dyes and treatments in it, trying to change it. The reality is our hair is a signature look. It is part of our beauty. It's even at a biblical level, like it's called our crown, and it is very much part of our identity. And so our hair very easily gets us down. In the past, I've been, I can speak in front of thousands of people, and I'm not nervous about speaking in front of people, but I will get nervous about the way my hair looks. I'll have anxiety about the way, like, I go on television, and I don't mind about what I'm going to say and the situation, but it's just I don't know why I've just like had this thing about my hair. So this is our reminder to focus on being healthy from the inside out, and to live authentically who we are. The other expectation I will actually add here too is making healthy changes to your hair. It does not happen overnight because our hair has to grow, right? So I had a really good session with my holistic hairstylist recently, And she said a few really key things that I'm also going to share with you today. But one of those things is, because she has her own journey of having thin hair that wouldn't grow. Now she's got this gorgeous long brown hair that's probably about down to her belly button. And she said, Bridget, it takes at least a year to really see good changes in your hair. And you think about it, I've had some recent good changes in my hair, but and it's been in the form of new hair growth, but it's only about that much growth at this point, right? So I'm not going to see that difference in this part of my hair. I just see it in my scalp, and my hair is fuller on my head, but it hasn't made its way down here. So, let's look at, now we're looking at signs that our hair is unhealthy, but also these signs, they're red flags to other things that are going on physiologically in your body. And so in my post on Facebook, I mentioned, our hair speaks to us, and our hair is a really good indicator. It's a good check engine light that other things are, either deficient or imbalanced in our body. And so some signs that we need to be paying attention are if your hair is breaking, if it's damaged and brittle, but if it's breaking off. I've had this historically. If your hair is thinning, if it's falling out, if you are noticing clumps of hair in the shower, that is a problem. Our hair comes out naturally. So when you're brushing your hair, you should have hair loss. On average, we lose probably 100 strands of hair a day. That obviously depends on the person. So it could be 50, but it could be 150 if you've got a really full head of hair. So we naturally do have hair loss. So just seeing hair on your brush, that's not a big deal. But if you're seeing clumps in your shower, something is going on. If you're noticing bald patches starting, so, female pattern baldness actually starts in the part over here. You see the part thinning, but you also do with ladies, you will see it over this part of the hair here. I was actually starting to have that, gosh, I think about maybe 6-8 months ago. I was noticing a little bit here, like my hair was really thin at the bottoms here. With men, you typically have this pattern where it's like this skull cap, right? On the top of the hair, you lose this top of the hair here. If your hair isn't growing, your hair should grow about half an inch to an inch per month on every 28 days. So if your hair is not growing at all, that is a sign that something's going on. If your hair is greasy even after you wash it, there's something going on, or it gets greasy really easily, that's a problem. If you're having dandruff or a dry, itchy scalp, that is obviously your hair follicles are in your scalp, but that will affect your hair as well. Maybe not in the immediate sense, but down the road, that is going to affect your hair, because that affects the hair follicle. But there also could be some other things like some atopic dermatitis, like eczema, like some maybe more serious things going on that you're noticing, some issues on your scalp there. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Let me let Chandra in the room. Okay. All right, so here's just some visual examples. Here is something to look out for in your hair. So here on this top diagram, on the left, we would see a normal part. Then you would see the next phase, you would see that part thinning. So if you see this thinning part, that is starting to be a concern, because it just progresses. We have more thinning, and then you're really losing hair at the top. So that was so if maybe you're concerned because your hair is fine or thin, but if you look at your part, like you look at my part, it's normal. And then that's okay. You don't have to be concerned about like going bald in that area. So just watch out for that part and the phases there. So here on the bottom, I just showed some examples of some unhealthy hair. So on the left here, Chandra, I'm just going to mute you there. Okay. On the left there, we see like that brittle damage. You especially notice as maybe you get out of the shower when you're drying your hair or like trying to brush your hair, it just gets like matted, and it's pretty unruly. That's going to be indicative of some damage there, some brittle that could, we'll talk about what that comes from. The central picture here, we see that other, like starting to get a bald patch in an area that could be on the sides here, but it actually just could, it could be in other areas of your head as well. Obviously we'll also, situations like alopecia as well. And then on the right, we're looking more at the scalp. And that is, sometimes you may not realize that you're having some issues on your scalp skin, and sometimes your hairdresser would tell you that. So you can always ask, when you're getting your hair done, just ask what the condition of your scalp is like. And but here you just see like the starting phase where it's basically the skin is building up there, so it's not getting clean properly. And when it builds up, that will affect the hair follicles, and that will cause some dandruff in your hair as well. You'll have some dry flakes, but this also can build up to where it becomes more problematic. All right, so now we're going to go to the root cause of the problems, pun intended, by the way, hair root. So we're going to talk about our hair care, our products, and our styling. The big one, certainly for me as a nutritionist, is looking at nutrient deficiencies. I think that's, a big one when it comes to our hair, and probably one of the simplest things we can do is just making sure that all our nutrient needs are being met. And then we're going to talk about pathologies as well. So looking into, disease conditions, for example, or infections. All right, so let's look at stages of hair growth. I think understanding this gives you an understanding for your hair, gives you some patience, especially as you're progressing in taking care of your body. So we have the first phase is the anagen phase. And so this is that growing phase where your hair you can see at the bottom, if we look at the bottom of that hair follicle, you have it is attached basically to the blood supply. It has blood supply there. And so this growing phase can be on the short side. It can be 2 years, but it can be up to 6, even 8 years. So a person who has a longer growing phase, that cycles on the longer side, they're going to be able to grow longer hair. A person like myself, who my hair doesn't seem to grow past a certain length, I've got a shorter growing phase. And that is something that is, for the most part, that's genetic. Now, there are things that could affect your growing phase, stressors and trauma, and so this that we'll go into in a second. But basically, that's the growing phase. The majority of your hair is in this growing phase. Okay, so that's probably going to be 80 to 90% of your hair is in that growing phase. So that's the opportunity that we have to get good nutrients to your hair, and good proteins, your vitamins, minerals, and so forth. So that's the opportunity we have to have good quality hair. But then we have the catagen phase. That's a transition phase where now it's being released from its nutrient supply. It's coming off. That's normally about a couple of weeks for that phase. And then the next phase is the telogen phase. That is a resting phase. So once that hair stops growing, once again, that's a genetic time, but then also there can be factors like stressors that cause that growth phase to shorten. And then it'll go into that resting phase for about 90 days, about 3 months. Okay. So for example, if you go on, let's just say you go on a calorie restrictive, carb restrictive type of nutrition protocol, maybe it's for weight loss. It is that in itself can be a stressor for your hair. And so 3 months later, you could see that now the results of that where you have some hair loss. That can be temporary. It's okay, but just understanding this is the way that your hair can work. So, but it does take, once again, 90 days for that shedding phase to happen. So another example, you could have a surgery, a car accident, a loss of a loved one, some kind of traumatic event, a loss of a job, something like that, something super stressful. 90 days later, you can see hair shedding as a result of that stressful event. And that's just showing you that event has basically caused your hair to stop growing. Okay. So now let's go into some causative factors, and because like you always hear me say, if we understand the cause, we can find the solution. Okay, so here are some hair care culprits. So number one is looking at the ingredients in our products. Harsh chemicals are in conventional shampoos. Obviously, they're in our hair dyes and our styling products. So anything that is touching your hair topically, if it has sulfates, parabens, phthalates, silicones, even alcohols, and there's some other things in there, they will damage your hair and just generally cause toxicity in your body, can affect your hormone balance. So you can have this primary result of these chemicals, but then you have the secondary and tertiary results, because now it can affect, for example, if it causes hormone imbalance in your body, then in turn, the hormone imbalance is going to affect your hair growth and quality. Okay, so the first thing that I recommend is looking at your shampoo, conditioner, and hair products. And the number one ingredient that I avoid at all costs, I don't want it touching my body at all, is sodium lauryl sulfate, SLS. Okay, that's a forever chemical. It's bad. You just don't want. But all conventional shampoos, you go in the grocery store, in the pharmacy, wherever you're buying your personal care products, and they're going to have those things in. Then other things, and there's the list of these is so exhaustive that really what you can do, one, just make sure it doesn't have that SLS, and then look for shampoos that will say things like free of sulfates, parabens, phthalates, and silicones. Okay. And a lot of the natural shampoos. It is very difficult to get a completely pure shampoo because feel like I've tried them all, and um, they're just tough. They're tough to navigate. They're tough to clean your hair. You'll notice when you use the natural shampoos, for example, they don't like foam and suds up, and your brain's immediately like, oh no, this is not working. It's just because it doesn't have these toxic ingredients in it. And so look for shampoos that don't have these in. Now, for me, historically, I have the main ones I don't want, but it's very difficult to find it perfect. So my brain wants it to be, I don't want sodium benzoate. I don't want potassium sorbate. There's these things, but sometimes that's just very difficult to find. So you have to have a little bit of give sometimes. Now, what you can do, I did go completely pure for a while, and it actually worked well for a while. I was using a natural soap bar. And in my brain, like for the longest time, I just thought there's no ways a bar soap is going to work for my hair. And when I found a good one, uh, it actually worked great. It was just really good for my scalp, actually. That was probably the biggest thing. And my hair, I didn't have any greasiness in my hair. I was able actually to go probably 3 days without washing my hair, which for me, who normally has to wash my hair every day, that was pretty good. The only thing my hairstylist then, she said, okay, that's great. The problem is what you're doing when you look at your cuticle of your hair, you're you're opening it up and you're getting your scalp clean, but then you're not closing it. So it's like the fact that you're not using a conditioner then is affecting your hair quality, and can make your hair drier and more brittle and so forth. And so I actually right now I'm trying one of her products that she has in her salon, which is from Italy. It's organic. It's without all these ingredients. It's not perfect, but like it's worth it for me to give it a try. So it's okay to try products, and they're not all going to be perfect, but we just want to move towards the more natural ingredients. So that's the one thing. I think that's pretty easy. We can stop using the bad products and integrate, even if you're going to a Whole Foods or a health food store and you're switching from I don't even know some of the what Revlon and some of these brand names in the grocery stores, just switching to the next level, which might be a medium level. That's a good start, and then from there you could try and get into cleaner products. The next thing which plays a role here actually is your water quality and the shower. So one thing that you can do is you can test the pH of your water. If your pH of your water is too alkaline, that can be causing issues with your hair. So actually, the pH of your scalp and around those follicles, it naturally needs to be on the more acidic side. It's going to be between a 4.5 and a 5.5. That's going to be the healthiest pH range, okay? And but often you could be maybe using well water, maybe you have some kind of filter on there that is making it more alkaline, or maybe it's just the way the chemicals are in your city. So that's not, you can go to the pharmacy, they're pretty cheap. You can get a pH strips, and you can check the pH of your shower water. But also, if you're, showering in your city water, it could be chemicals in there that are affecting your hair, like chlorine. Or if you're a swimmer, I was a swimmer, chlorine heavily affected my hair years ago when I was swimming 3 to 4 days a week. And so that is something to consider. Just an FYI on chlorine toxicity, vitamin C balances that out. So if you are a swimmer or if your kids are swimmers, what I used to do is I would take a vitamin C capsule before I got into the pool, actually, and then I would make sure that I rinse my body off and rinse my hair off immediately after that. But it is possible that you need to get a shower head filter. And I remember we had one in our townhome. We had a filter that had vitamin C in it. You can get them that could have like vitamin C, vitamin E in it, but just a a filter for your shower could be a great idea. I love when I'm in Kuala Lumpur and I have access to like a hydrogen shower head, and we're going to pick one up on our next visit there. But the hydrogen water and the hydrogen shower head is amazing. Just immediately my hair just feels soft and shiny and clean, and there is something about that hydrogen water. The other thing is the temperature of your water. You don't want to be showering in too hot of the water. And I do recommend, so it's not as a big deal maybe when you're washing your hair, but when you're rinsing your hair off, that temperature should not be too hot. So just dial down the temperature so that it's more on the lukewarm side, so that it closes that cuticle back up. And then we look at heat from your styling products, from flat irons, curling irons, blow drying, and so forth. Not having that. Also, if you with the blow dryer, not having it too close to your hair, because my hair is fine. If your hair is fine, my hairstylist told me, she's like, you actually can brush your hair with your blow dryer. You don't need to brush and blow dry together. And I've ever since I don't brush my hair when I'm blow drying it. I should have bought my hair dryer, but you just point it down, and you've got to have that nozzle on it. Point it down so that the air is going down with your hair strains, and it just naturally should untangle your hair. Now, if your hair is really tangled after the shower, once again, that's a problem in itself. That the hair damage is doing that, and there's some pH issues there. But then also things like tight braiding, or like if you do styles in your hair where it's braided really tightly, remember that's putting stress on your hair and that's pulling that hair follicle. So that can cause damage there, or also tight ponytails. So just take note of what you're doing regularly with your hair. If you have really fine hair, my stylist said don't brush wet hair because that's just going to strain it and pull it out. All right, so how do we treat our hair holistically then? So, like I mentioned, switching to your natural shampoos or conditioners. If you're using, what I did for the longest time is I actually stopped using conditioner, and I felt like it was actually working well for my hair until my stylist said, maybe it's not the best idea. But maybe it's something you have to do temporarily just to reduce the chemical stress on your hair. But when you're buying your shampoos or conditioners, I recommend buying the same brand because they're formulated and designed with the pHs in mind. So your shampoo might be more alkaline, but then your conditioner will be more acidic. But those shampoos and conditioners also take into account your hair type or also your hair damage. So, do you notice you have shampoos for colored hair, for example, because that colored hair has more damage on it and it is going to be more alkaline. And it's going to be it's going to be more porous as well. So then, consider if you're someone that, colors your hair every 3 months or something, consider having less color treatments. My rule now is I actually only do that once a year. And I've switched to organic treatments. And so they don't, they're not going to work as well. So I a little bit recently had it. So it's very mild. But I just go for it. Now, when you're doing organic hair color, remember, like if you're doing like I do highlights, or you're doing lighter colors, there's still bleach in there, right? So it's not like completely pure. It just means they're using some organic products in there. But something you can also do, and I've done this over the years, is you can make your own hair masks. This is just a fantastic strategy. Right now, I'm using a hair mask that's the same brand as my shampoo, and I'm just testing that out. But I have done some different hair masks over the years. And so some ingredient examples would be egg yolks, but egg whites as well because of the protein. But egg yolks just have all the nutrients in it that are specifically conducive for hair health and hair growth. Avocado or avocado oil, castor oil is a good one. I've used that a lot over the years. Coconut oil, and then essential oils. Some essential oil examples might be rosemary, tea tree oil, and lavender. I'm going to get a little bit more specific into this pertaining to different conditions on future slides. But then, so you have a hair mask, but you also have hair rinses that you can do. An example would be, and this is not straight on your hair, obviously, but like you could put a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar into a pitcher of water, and you could use that to rinse your hair. The reason why that is so effective is because of the pH. And so you're finishing off with a more acidic pH. Beer also has the pH that matches the natural pH around your scalp and your hair follicle. And I mentioned this because I was reminded this is what my aunt used to do. My late aunt, but she had the most beautiful, long, shiny hair, and she used to rinse her hair in beer. That was her thing. I was a teenager at the time when I remember her doing that, but it smelled like beer, and I thought it was a little bit gross, but it is something that can be effective. We don't drink, so we don't have beer in the house, but that could be something you could do. And then scalp massage is really important because you've got to get the circulation going on your head. Remember that picture of the follicle, when it's in the growth phase, it's attached to those capillaries over there, and you need to get that circulation so the nutrients can get to the hair follicle. So I recommend doing scalp massages. If you can, do them a couple of times a day. You can do that in the shower. You can do that before you go to sleep. That would be a great habit to add for hair growth. All right, so let's look at nutrient deficiencies. This is pretty common these days. Unfortunately, I speak about nutrient deficiencies a lot, and it's, sometimes it's like you hear, oh wait, this nutrient like biotin is good for hair growth, and so then you add all the biotin supplements, you're like, oh, it's not working. And so normally we just need to address everything. But so here are probably the top, if I were to say that, yeah, I guess top four. Omega-3s for sure. And if you've been listening to any of my recent webinars, you know that approximately, like most of the globe, 97% of the globe is deficient in omega-3s. I have been testing my clients recently, and in EPA, which is one of the omega-3s, literally, I have not had one person test with adequate EPA levels. And but I was really excited. Recently, I just did my follow-up test after using an omega-3 supplement called Balance Oil, and after 4 months, I have absolutely adequate omega-3s in my body. And I noticed, for me, and I think I was just so deficient in omega-3, I immediately could notice like the hair starting to grow. Once again, my hair grows slowly, but I probably, well, at least like the last, when I was at my stylist, she said I had like that much hair growth, and that was a little while ago. So I maybe have like this much new hair growth. I can, like, when I look at my hair, I can actually see and when I blow dry it, you can see the new hairs. So that's a big one. Vitamin D is another big one. By the way, so omega-3, I do recommend getting those levels tested. And especially while you're just balancing everything out and figuring out your different, restoring your nutrient deficiencies, I would be testing that once every 4 months. And it's the same with your D3. For those of us who are aware of D3, we might get it checked once a year or once every 2 years. Be careful not to get faked into seeing one test and saying, oh, it's a 60, it's good. That could have been in the summertime when it's higher. So with our D levels, we need to get those tested every 4 to 6 months. That's what I would recommend. So if you haven't had that tested, in the last year, you definitely need to get your D test, and it is vital for that hair follicle and for hair growth. All right. Iron is another one. I have historically been more on the anemia side because I grew up vegan and then was vegetarian until I was about 32. And so iron is a big one, but remember, it's the heme iron that is going to be the most effective. So yes, there are vegan sources of iron, the spinach, lentils could be an example, but the heme iron is what we get from our meat, like our red meat, and from our liver. And so, liver meaning like, yes, the organ. So that's if you're not able, if you are someone that you cannot eat red meat, I mean, I highly recommend red meat. It's like a superfood, but if you cannot eat red meat, then there are supplements that you can do, like glandular supplements. I take those as well because I don't eat a lot of red meat. But I'm proud of myself. I actually did have a hamburger patty just a little while ago. That was my lunch. So there are glandular supplements that you can do. In my experience, the iron supplements are not fantastic, and they're rarely effective. So I recommend different sources of iron supplementation, like whole food sources, like glandulars would be an example. B vitamins in general, yes, and then biotin, of course. But honestly, seeing a biotin deficiency is not super common. So biotin is vitamin B7, and then vitamin B12 is also going to be important for hair. So getting those B vitamins in, we get them from our meats, is going to be the most common source. And then you can also do either definitely a whole food multi-type vitamin that has natural Bs in it. I'm not a fan of the synthetic Bs. Certainly don't be using anything like cyanocobalamin or folic acid. And there are situations where I might recommend methylated Bs, but in generally speaking, they need to be from natural sources, whether it be from spleen or liver, glandulars, or for example, the supplement that I take, it's called Extend, and it is naturally sourced B vitamins from sprouted buckwheats. Vitamin A and retinol, basically. So that's going to be your like carrots. I try and have carrots in my diet almost every day. And then if you're looking at supplementation levels, you can look at like retinol, for example, would be the active form of the vitamin A. If you have graying or you're concerned about graying, a lot of times that can be a copper deficiency. And then related, there's a copper zinc balance. And so you can get those in as part of your multivitamin supplement. But really for these, I recommend eating nuts and seeds. You're going to cover your bases with things like your selenium, copper, zinc, magnesium, and so forth. Eating just some good nuts and seeds, not peanuts. Maybe don't overdo like almonds and cashews, but things like Brazil nuts, a couple of Brazil nuts a day, walnuts, macadamia nuts are really good. They have a specific fatty acid in there that's really unique. Hazelnuts are good. So pecans are good. So some of those would be good. So doing some daily nuts and seeds would be recommended. All right, let's look at some pathologies that can affect our hair. So, certainly hormone imbalances. This is a tough one because hormones can be tough to test, but I think a lot of people are affected by hormone imbalances, and so doing things to regulate your hormones and to balance them out. You could test on those as well, but also if you are going through hormonal shifts, whether it be postpartum, whether it be perimenopause, postmenopause, different seasons in your life, these hormones changes and imbalances can cause a shift in your hair. Thyroid dysfunction is a big one. So typically low thyroid or Hashimoto's is will have some issues with hair breaking and thinning and falling out. I mentioned stress and traumas. So, once again, this can be big life traumas. This also can be stress that can be from calorie restriction. Once again, sometimes that is what it is. If you're doing that calorie or carb restriction for other health protocols, sometimes it is necessary. And so just knowing that 90 days after the tress or stroma, you can see some hair falling out. So this is also a time where we really have to be nurturing our scalp and our hair to make sure that we're activating our hair growth and we're nourishing the hair. Then it can be fungal, bacterial or viral infections, and ringworm can be an example of this. There's many bacterial things, and this can be actually on the scalp, but it also can be reflective of something that's going on in our microbiome, like on the inside in our gut. It can be underlying viral infections as well. Autoimmune diseases, and immune dysregulation, inflammation. Metabolic dysfunction. I think people don't realize this, but insulin resistance, or even diabetes or weight loss resistance. This does impact the hair, and there's a lot of new research. Actually, I'm going to address this in one of the slides, but it's related to the carbohydrate metabolic pathway. It's related to the Krebs cycle and glycolysis, and pyruvate and lactate is actually where the research is being done right now, and it's super interesting. So we have to guard ourselves from having too much carbs and sugar in our diet, but also long-term carbohydrate restriction then affects those lactate levels as well. So there's this balancing act. This is one of the reasons, for those of you who have worked with me before, when it comes to weight loss and healing the metabolism, you'll notice that I'm very protective of not having you restrict something too long, not having you do carbohydrate restriction too long, or not being in ketosis too long. This is one of the side effects of that is hair loss or hair changes. So maybe even doing something like a carnivore lifestyle or a keto lifestyle too long can affect hair growth and hair loss. And then certainly cancers and what we do for those, chemo, radiation, and then there are certain medications. The medications would be too extensive for me to go into specifics of those. But if you are on any medications, you can just go and look, even if you go to drugs.com or something, and you can look up the side effects of those medications, or you can literally just put into your AI tool, does this drug cause hair loss? And you can look that up, and then you can speak with your physician about changing a medication or coming off of a medication, or you may opt to heal whatever is going on, work with me to get off the medication. Okay. I just wanted to share some emerging science with you. I've alluded to some of this before, but one is just the science of hair follicle stem cells. Stem cells in general are an emerging science. I'm fascinated by them. I incorporate stem cell activation into my protocols. Many of you are familiar with the Take 5 fast. So by the way, in my holistic healing strategy, a lot of that whole strategy aligns with healthy hair growth. And the Take 5 fast, the way that it heals the body metabolically, and the way that it activates regeneration and stem cells feeds into this. Lactate, the research on lactate is super fascinating. So this is a whole rabbit hole that I've been down, and it's still, the research is still ongoing in coming up with the solutions. But as I have read through this research on the role of lactate in healing the skin and the hair follicle, it's just super interesting. And so, this actually ties into the microbiome and specific strains of bacteria on the scalp. And so yeah, so part of that lactate, lactate it's an acid. It's that's why we have this acidity to our epidermis and to our scalp, to this layer. And they literally are developing drugs around this, which is super interesting. But but really the way that my brain, understanding metabolism, is it shows the importance of healing the metabolic pathways, of healing the carbohydrate pathway, giving it a break to heal it, going into the fat burning pathway, and then coming back to it, not staying away from it too long, because we have to have this the active enzymes going on. So, okay, I know that gets a little bit sciencey, but I just wanted to share the emerging research down over here. So now what I want to do is go just more specifically into conditions and give some guidelines here. So if you're having any type of scalp conditions, dry scalp, buildup on the scalp, or infections on the scalp, or some kind of dermatitis, number one thing, cut out sugar, grains, and seed oils. Because this is just going to feed what's going on there. So you got to cut those out. Probably what's necessary is basically a cleanse to restore your microbiome, to kill the bad bacteria. Just in general terms, this can be a candida type cleanse because there's going to be spillover into other things. This is one of the things I do in the holistic healing strategy. So those of you who have worked with me, you've probably done some level of this, but basically killing that candida is one step to restoring scalp health. And then just correcting nutrient deficiencies, balance oil, which is the omega-3 oil that I recommend, vitamin D3, and then multi-nutrient support. That support can come from a whole food multi. There are many good ones on the market. You've got to sift through the ingredients. I use one called Extend. I also add into that some glandulars. But that's specific to the person, what glandular you may use. If you just want a basic glandular, like a liver glandular or a multi-organ glandular is going to give you some additional support. Then for topical treatment to your head, tea tree oil or melaleuca oil is going to help because it's antimicrobial, as well as coconut oil and apple cider vinegar. So an example here is you might take a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil, a few drops of tea tree oil. Maybe you can also add some lavender oil in there. Mix that together, and you can massage that into your scalp. So you can, let me see, you would do that first, then you can wash your hair, and then you can do the rinse on your hair, the apple cider vinegar rinse. Once again, that's just 1 or 2 tablespoons in like a little jug of water to rinse over your hair for the acidity. So you do the acidic part last. But then definitely look at your shampoos, and because it's possible, and this has happened to me, where I was using all these natural shampoos, but they just weren't effective of getting rid of the skin buildup on your skin. And so actually, I think what I had to do there was like use a bad shampoo just to reset it, just to get that buildup off my hair, and then go back to my natural options. But it's just possible that the natural shampoo you're using isn't working well. Brittle or damaged hair, a lot of times that is coming from our products and our styling, and too much heat and over washing. So definitely assess that. Have gentle styling with your brushes. Try and reduce the heat and reduce the dyes and the highlighting and so forth on your hair. The balance oil, that is what I did notice, like my hair is like shinier and smoother after using the balance oil. And healthy fats. Most people are just deficient in fat in general. It was the biggest scam in the 80s where everything went low fat, and they made us think that fat was bad for us, and fat makes us fat, and fat gives us high cholesterol, and it's just inaccurate. Most of us just need more fat in our diets. Protein as well. Being deficient in protein is linked to poor hair quality. Check your thyroid, because that can cause the breakage. For me, that is a little bit of a telltale. Since I have a history of hypothyroid and Hashimoto's, if my hair is breaking, it's like, oh, I need to add in more of my thyroid glandular. Or check your levels. So if you have any concerns with thyroid, you definitely should be checking that at least once a year, and that should be a full thyroid panel. Then definitely hair masks would be great for dry and brittle hair. So castor oil, coconut, just one of these will be fine. 1 or 2 of these oils will be fine. Castor oil, coconut oil, olive or avocado oil. You can add in you could do some real avocado in there if you wanted to. You can add in egg yolk into that, or even a full egg, and just mix. It doesn't have to be a lot. It literally, you could have two egg yolks, And you can have a couple of tablespoons of the oil, mix that together, and then massage that into your hair, and make sure with this hair type, you're getting that all nicely around your hair. If you have more hair, longer hair, obviously you'll need more of that. And then just keep that on your hair. About 20 minutes is fine, is adequate. And then in the past, I've actually even like slept with castor oil on my hair, and I've just used like a shower cap to sleep in. And then wash that out with your shampoo, and then you can do a rinse on that as well. And then definitely check the pH of your water, because it literally could be your water that's drying your hair out because it's too alkaline. And then I think that this is a big one, especially for us ladies, as we're like perimenopause, postmenopause, or maybe a history of a lot of dieting or something, the hair loss and the thinning, or stressful events, certainly. So balance all, like number one thing, I recommend getting started on that. I think that's the biggest bang for your buck. Your D3, getting in all those nutrients, doing a multi-nutrient supplement. If you're having issues with hair loss and thinning, this is where supporting the stem cells is really important. I mentioned the Take 5 fast. This is a good way to do that. I don't know, do this every couple of months, maybe, doing that fast. But I recently was researching one of Zinzino's products called Xenogene, and this product is designed to remove senescent cells from the body. It's designed as a longevity product for anti-aging. However, as I was watching the information, I was like, oh my word, this is like doing all the things that my Take 5 fast does and that my holistic healing strategy does. And obviously we can't be fasting all the time to activate stem cells. So we can't be doing that all the time. And so when I looked over the ingredients of the supplements and the way that it works in the body, I was like, this is really fantastic stem cell support. So it's called Xenogene. And you can look into it's great for like the immune system, anti-inflammatory, removing the senescent cells from the body, and then it has ingredients in there that I like for supporting stem cells in the body. So our stem cells are what activate our hair growth, basically. Balancing hormones, because this is normally a big trigger here. Protein, make sure you're getting enough protein and healthy fat. So you need to be getting, in my opinion, animal protein on a daily basis and healthy fats on a daily basis. You can do hair masks with castor oil, and rosemary is really powerful for this. I have seen results working with my clients just with these two, but as a bonus, adding some eggs, some egg yolks, or some full eggs would be super helpful. When you have eggs in your hair mask, don't rinse it off with hot water, because it'll like cook the egg in your hair, okay? So make sure you're using cooler water there. The scalp massage here is really important. And then reducing hair stressors. So sometimes with your hair, that actually might be cutting your hair, just going for a shorter cut or style, just to reduce the weight on your hair, just allowing it some time to heal. Certainly chemicals and like what you're styling your hair with, or if you're braiding or putting your hair in tight, just don't do tight ponytails for that. So I think that is everything there. And then just to wrap it up, so my general recommendations are going to be to follow a whole food nutrition strategy. And so cutting out the sugars, the processed foods, the seed oils, and the refined grains. Get those things out of your diet. At least if you can do that 95%, you're going to be winning. Test probable deficiencies, so the deficiencies that I referenced. If you can get any of them done, certainly through your doctor, where you can have insurance cover it, that's fantastic. Or sometimes you may need to go to a lab. As many of you know, I have access to the fatty acid panel, so you can check your omega 3s, omega 6s, omega 9s, and saturated fats. You can look at those, look at inflammation markers and so forth. I do have access, depending on what country you're in, I have access to a vitamin D, a panel, and an A1C as well. But once again, you can also go and request certain markers through your doctor's office or through a local lab. Maybe it's checking your B vitamins. Maybe it's looking at homocysteine to see if you have issue with methylating and converting B vitamins. Maybe it's checking your iron and your ferritin levels, so you can test those markers as well. And then thyroid levels and hormones could be an option too, but chat with your practitioner about that. And then quality supplementation based on this testing. You guys know I'm historically quite a minimalist on supplementation, but I'm just in a season right now where I feel my body just, I just need to flood my body with nutrition. And so I am taking a whole food multi, I'm taking a glandular, I'm taking my omega. Oh, collagen is another one, and that I'm doing daily as well. What else are some things that I'm doing daily? I have some others, but I think pertaining to hair, these are great. And then antioxidants as well, certainly getting those in your diet through eating very colorful foods. Reduce the toxic load of your hair products and body products. Really, we just always need to be working on reducing our toxic load and detoxing our body. And then if you do have any chronic conditions, you need a strategy to heal those chronic conditions, because those conditions can certainly get worse, or you might be stuck on medications for the rest of your life. And so designing that strategy. So that's why this is a QR code to my schedule. Oh, I meant to actually go and open up some days. Sandy, if you're on here, remind me, let's open up some days next week, just so that I can have some more people schedule appointments. But schedule an appointment with me, and this is what we'll accomplish. I'm happy to do a review of your current supplements, because not all supplements are effective. In fact, a lot of supplements could be causing a problem, okay? For example, omegas can be oxidized. Some poor quality supplements can have heavy metals in them. You could have synthetic vitamins in them. So I'm always happy to do a supplement review for you. I'll look at everything that you are currently taking. I'll tell you what's good, what's bad, and what you need to add in or replace. I'm also happy to do a consult just to look at your unique situation, or any conditions that you have, and design a strategy for you. I recommend the holistic healing strategy for everyone, honestly. And if you're committed to turning your health around, to to changing your skin and your hair quality, to reversing chronic disease, I would set out, I think realistically, give yourself a year to do that. And the holistic healing strategy can be a great springboard, because it's an 8-week strategy that just teaches you all these different areas of your body, incorporates the Take 5 fast, incorporates optimal supplementation, and that just gives you a springboard for the rest of the year. And healing doesn't happen overnight, just like getting sick didn't happen overnight. And so do something for that springboard, and then commit to a year, and it'll be amazing what you can see a year from now in your hair quality, hair growth, skin quality, energy, with metabolic healing, your weight, your gut health, so much more. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're not on that journey already, to start that journey.